It may sound a little it's boring to most of us here, but I still want to kind of build the background before getting into the actual discussion for today. So, what exactly is WPA2? How did we end up using WPA2? What really transpired before that? There were a lot of issues with offline dictionary, so many attacks, and people lost faith in Wi-Fi. They kind of like, the only secured way of getting yourself connected to a network is through wire, fiber, or what I say, Ethernet cable, coaxial, all sorts. Those are the medium at which people kind of have faith in. They lost faith in Wi-Fi. WebKey was easily cracked. Even WPA, the initial WPA that was brought didn't last much. So like everything about it kind of messed up, and then ITP kind of went back to kind of figure out, okay, we need to kind of replace this RC4 encryption that is being used in web and provide more kind of robust, encryption mechanism that kind of has been proven to be resilient against attacks. So that brought about the idea of using WPA2 as a means of securing wireless Wi-Fi connection. WPA2 is AES CCMP and it is 120 bits, right? So they felt, okay, this is a little bit stronger than what we had in the web and the BPA. Of course, it has two flavors, one for the enterprise and the other one is for the kind of residential, right? We folks. So the enterprise one is pretty much designed around 802.1x and then radios, etc. I'm not going to go into that. I want to talk about what uh, pertains to house. That is the PSK, the appreciate key. So we started using the PSK and the same approach, just same password thing being shared across different devices, but it's encrypted. It came with mostly two flavors, like I said earlier. So when we take a packet capture, you will see the AKM suite. AKM suite is authentication key management. Now, the two suites, one is it's the mark will end with 00OFAC1. That means the enterprise version. The one that we're focusing on is the 00OFAC2. Let me see if I can find one. Uh, so just a moment, just this is what uh, look very big and shoot it. It's gonna look like this. I said information. It came suit. You see, okay. So 000 AFC, right? So this is how you identify PSK. Okay. So this is a PSK seed. If you're looking for, you can see it's two. If it is one, they know that it is the enterprise. The other flavors we're going to be talking about them. Um, Today, as I mentioned, we are focusing on this particular tag, the RSN information in Wi-Fi. We're not talking about the rest. I just want to talk about this and the importance and how it relates to us as a team. So, so when you say the two, it means it is PSK, okay, and it is what we use in all our access points. It's how it's been developed. It's basically based on the four-way handshake, etc. We don't use it radius. It's purely it's purely localized, no server is being involved. So kind of it's established it's a encryption key between the access points and the clients only. There's no extra server involved like radios. So what happens is that both the AP and the clients they kind of confirm that they know the PSK, the password, okay, or they and then have like a complete similar to what you have in 802.1x authentication. So what happens is that in the encryption key there is what a known key called the PTK, pairwise transient key. So this PTK is actually derived from the PSK. So the PSK that we used right earlier, the PTK is derived from it. It's this PTK that is then being used to encrypt every communication that goes on between the access points and the clients. So PTK is very important. The second piece that is also important is the GTK. The GTK is a little bit similar to the PTK, but then the purpose is different in the sense that the purpose of GTK is for broadcast or multicast. So you end up seeing GTK a lot on traffics that are actually like a broadcast for traffic or multicast streams and stuff like that. You will see that a lot. But in kind of point to point communication, just like unicast is used basically PTK that you're going to be saying. So everybody felt this is very comfortable, it's very secured, and no, everything was going smoothly until when we started having offline dictionary attacks again. But well, we felt okay, it takes a while before you can actually crack it using offline dictionary, and boom, there was a crack vulnerability. I'm very sure most of us were familiar with it. It was discovered in 2017 when the four-way handshake was exploited. So all these PTK, GTK thing, they were like, boom, they were exploited. As in, it was easy for attackers to force a client to reinstall the same encryption key, then allow them to intercept and decrypt traffic. So more or less like he can stay in the middle and listen to the traffic if he can reinstall it. And that broke WPA2. So since then, they've done a lot of work like going on, okay, what can we do to improve WPA2? Wi-Fi Alliance and the IEEE has been working tremendously with different task groups to figure out a way out of it because there's so many issues related to WPA2 and we ended up in what we call WPA3. So WPA3 was the new flavor that that said, okay, let's have something more robust, something more uh, like resilient to attack, right? That's all these crack attacks, forward secrecy issues, dependency on SHA-1, all sort of weakness that were identified in WPA2. Like, let's put this in WPA3 so that we can prevent such in future and have a taste of what we have in a wired connection. So the intention is to make Wi-Fi as strong and resilient to attack as what we experience in wired connection. So they brought about this concept of simultaneous authentication of equals, SAE, and that is the the bedrock at which WPA3 was built upon. The second thing in WPA3 is that protected management frames now became mandatory for all connections. So it, this kind of added extra layer of security by protecting management frames, which were one of those that were eavesdropped and tampered with in crack, right? So that way, we kind of made it very solid and resilient to subsequent attacks. So that is the gap between WPA2 and WPA3. So WPA3 made it so cool that we felt a lot comfortable after looking at the theories and the understanding the intricacies involved in the calculations, etc., to make sure that to prevent subsequent attack on Wi-Fi, especially the brute force attack, and also it's resilient to it. However, WPA3 implementation introduce compatibility issues because it requires kind of updates in hardware and firmware, but those are not kind of like feasible approach in resolving issues because you already have some hardware, you have some software firmwares in the field that they don't even have internet connection, and it's there is no market value for it for hardware manufacturers to now upgrade their existing devices that have been sold to customers. Some of them cannot even track some of the devices that they've sold to customers, and then we have issues like some printers cannot connect to access points because you enable WPA3 or WPA2, WPA3 transition mode, etc. Anyway, the moment these devices start saying confusing information because they don't understand the WPA3, right? So if they go into the AKM suits and then they see uh, another information that is different from what they've been designed to understand, which is for either in enterprise one or in residential using PSK, the two, as I showed you earlier. So the PSK, if there is two, in the enterprise you see it as one. If they see anything other than what they've been designed to connect to, they get confused. They don't connect at all. There are more issues that were found in the field, you know, a lot of challenges. And then these are the things that brought about, okay, we're trying to solve a problem. Now we've created a new problem. And this problem is not just an engineering or a scientific problem to solve. It's a collection of scientific issues, engineering issues to solve. Um, majority of it are political issues. They are financial based topics. It's difficult to convince a hardware manufacturer to kind of push a firmware or push software or change the hardware to make it compatible with WPA3. That made it very, very difficult, and that is why we had a lot of issues in the field where customers call and then they make it look as if the problem is the operator's problem. No, it's not operator's problem. The the issue is that device manufacturers refuse to go to step up and embrace the latest technology. So we operators design our systems. We future proof them. We kind of upgraded them to make sure that they support the latest security protocols. However, these devices were not catching up to the technology, and so one, they're exposing the network because they are not supporting the latest technology in terms of security, and two, they are causing a lot of struggles, and of course, ended up getting to you guys to resolve the issues. So, for almost a year, Wi-Fi Alliance have been discussing about, okay, what can we do to satisfy everybody? You don't want to upgrade the hardware? Fine. You don't want to upgrade the software? Fine. But we need to secure everybody on Wi-Fi. Remember, the whole idea, the whole concept, the origin of where we are coming from is to secure Wi-Fi such that it can mimic the same security experience that we have in wired. So last month we agreed on something, and Wi-Fi released it as uh, uh, an addendum into WPA3. So WPA3 personal only that we know, or the WPA3 transition modes that kind of supposed to keep both WPA2 and WPA3 AKF suits together without interrupt issues, but the intercost issues got resolved. And then what we call WPA3 personal compatibility mode got introduced. So I will talk about that, but let me quickly touch base on the difference between WPA3 personal only and WPA3 transition mode. So that just to bring us up to speed, WPA3 was designed to for devices that support the latest technology and move away from WPA2 because of all the vulnerabilities identified in WPA2. So WPA3 was made. So you have WPA3 only AKM suits. So in that, it uses entirely just SAE. There's nothing related to WPA2 anymore or PSK. It's purely SAE. And of course, it made PMF, Protective Management Frame, mandatory. Let me show you how what I meant. So if you look at the packet capture, you will see that here you see that we have management frame protection required first. That is what you get in WPA2, the PSK. Management frame protection capable first. WPA2 does not require the enforcement of what of management frame. It's purely designed to make sure that that doesn't exist. However, if you go into WPA3, uh, uh, you will see a different information. Let me show you in WPA3 packets. And then you will see that here it says this is WPA3. So in WPA3, the AKM suits is 8. Okay, and then SAE. We talk about the details in details. Uh, Look at the management frame protection required through management frame protection capable through. That differentiates uh, WPA2 and WPA3 because management frames are required. So when you see MFPC, that is capable, R means required. Both are must be true. So that's the difference between WPA2 and WPA3 only. There is another one, the transition mode. In a transition mode, you have both the WPA2 and the WPA3 together. So the essence is that some device you have a mixture of devices that have WPA2 that support WPA2 on the network, and then some have newer devices that support WPA3 in the same network. You want the devices that support WPA3 to enjoy the security and the robustness that you get in WPA3. And if you want to keep the WPA2 devices connected, this is one uh, uh, combination that causes a lot of issues. The problem here is that PMF is enabled, but not made mandatory. And then the fact that devices will now see more than one AKM suite got it uh, to, to to be confusing. So devices were like, what the hell? Why am I seeing more than one AKM suite? So in this scenario here, you have PSK, okay, two, and then you have eight, and then the device is like, hey, hold on. I'm designed to understand just one AKM seed, that is PSK. Why am I seeing another one that is 8 SAE? What does that mean? So newer devices that don't understand it got confused, and rather than connected to that network, they feel like, oh, something is fishy. Looks like someone is trying to hack me. I'd rather ignore this network. I won't connect. Look at it. It says management frame is not required, and the same management frame is, capable must be true. No, something is not right. The way I am designed to support PSK, both are not supposed to be required. I don't need the requirements, and I'm not supposed to be capable. Why is it saying it's capable? So that was where the confusion actually started from. So we had to deal with it. Some devices that understood the transition mode could connect. Some that so the problem with it, another problem with this combination is that as much as it is kind of flexible and allowing devices to make the decision, it does not work on a 6 gigahertz. 6 gigahertz is designed only to support WPA3. So when you're going to, if you have a 6 gigahertz device that has to connect, it's you cannot use transition mode. You have to change the combination, the cable switch to WPA3 only. So and then this mode got introduced. I'm going to skip it for now. I'll come back to it. So there are other flavors of WPA3, the SAE, PK, uh, the different versions. So I'm going to skip it for now. So I just want to go through the table and show you what I just spoke about and the question that was asked. So in WPA3 only, you see that the AKM suit is SAE. You have 3 and then 24 is kind of optional. But most importantly, it is 1 1. That is, the PMF is protected, and the WPA3 devices only are the ones connecting. You can have the WPA2 PSP devices connected with this mode. In WPA3 personal transmission mode, you see the option of 2, the PSK, is available. An option of 8 is seen as well. You see other options where you have the PSK using SHA-256, the 6, and then you see the option with the group dependent hash with the 24. You see this a lot. Um, One of the tickets that I filed with um, vendor where Samsung S24 wasn't connected correctly was because the 24 was missing and it couldn't connect. So even the Samsung S24 couldn't connect with transition mode because of this. So there are a lot of issues that are going on, but we found a way out of this, and the way out is what I want to discuss. So let's talk about. Okay, we already discussed the interrupt issues between WPA2 and WPA3. Sorry, I think I spoke kind of time. So we know about all these issues where clients struggle to connect access points with multiple AKM suits, attempting to connect, but to process more than one cipher, or sometimes, sometimes Windows devices are seen to interpret the IE information wrongly. And then instead of saying, oh, they're connecting to a WPA3 only network or WPA3 transmission mode network, they just mix it up and then they respond back with information stating that they're connecting using the wrong AKM suite because they got confused. There's a lot of confusion around it. So this can actually throw you off sometimes when you're trying to interpret a packet capture and like what is going on here because the implementation from different vendors are kind of different, and this is not really their fault. It's just because the way WPA2 WPA3 um transition mode was designed, it left a lot of kind of flexibility for uh, device manufacturers to choose which part or how they want to implement it. It wasn't enforced in any way, so like I said, the device just have to negotiate, and that caused a lot of confusion. We have already, and that is one thing that happens when you have like a couple of devices, access points with easy mesh in the network where a particular maybe the controller support this in its own suite, and then the agent access point is showing something else, and then there's mismatch in the AKM suites. When roaming, even though the side is the same, when roaming, you see that the device tends to get sticky to one rather than going to the other access points. Like, but there's coverage. Why is it sticky? Why is it not roaming? It's because of these AKM suit issues that were happening. So this is just a summary of the difference between the two, the WPA2 and the WPA3, and the compatibility issues. So I would like to go into the main topic for today. I've spent 7 minutes discussing the backgrounds. Okay, so why not? Why is all this? Why addressing these interrupt issues now? Why not before? I told you about the politics and etc. that were going on, and it became very difficult to get everybody into the same room and agree on the path forward. Eventually, my Wi-Fi Alliance agreed in October 2023 to actually, have devices, out of box, bring out their devices and test it. So what really happened is that all this while we could survive with WPA2, WPA3 transition modes, but then the Wi-Fi 7 conversation started. In Wi-Fi 6E, nobody really cared, but device manufacturers now care so much about Wi-Fi 7. They have to make money. So the politics, the tone of the politics changed. Because in Wi-Fi 7, you can only use WPA3. Wi-Fi 7 features like MLO and the others only support WPA3. Remember, in Wi-Fi 6E, 6 gigahertz is only the band that supports WPA3. Nobody really cared because, well, devices that support 6 gigahertz band then were limited. But Wi-Fi 7, it's not like Wi-Fi 6E. It operates on all bands. The 2.4, your 5 gig, and the 6 gigahertz. And here comes the problem. You have to use WPA3 if you're using MLO. So if you have 2.4 link, linked with 5 gig link and 6 gig. So you're having 3 links. So that means that the SSID and then the RSN for the 2.4, 5, and 6 has to be WPA3, and thus the interrupt issues that we're all avoiding to sit down together to discuss. And in October 2023, Wi-Fi Alliance conducted internal testing to assess these issues and discovering that 10 out of 40 devices that were tested faced connection issues. So when Wi-Fi 7 launched with forward compatibility test designed to support WPA3 with the plans for comprehensive solution in 2024 to address the operators' concern, because Telos, Rogers, who else, AT&T, and T, and folks, we kind of filed compatibility issues. Wi-Fi lines, like, the thing is not working. So the Wi-Fi lines board of directors kind of directed a security task group to develop a unified solution. So earlier in 2024, we kind of had another extensive interrupt testing where 127 devices were actually tested. Mostly the commercial devices, like 113 were commercial and then 1400 devices. And they were tested against different access points with a different configuration. Guess what? 18%, sorry, 18 clients, that is 40%, failed to connect with the transmission modes on AP. And then the multi-BSS setup thing caused a lot of problem because they were transmitting and multiple BSS IDs using the same SSID, right? And because obviously the devices did not understand it, so it became so pronounced. And of course, the one thing that was tested was the single RSN override issue. So clients were able to connect using WPA2. So because the single RSN override kind of worked, so it suggested that perhaps there is a potential for broader compatibility, and that was what brought about the idea of expanding or growing on the RSN override, uh, which led to this conversation that we're having. So most of the discussion were kind of around MediaTek, Qualcomm, and the likes, were the ones that led this conversation to make sure that there is this RSN override solution that could resolve most of our problem. Yes, I've been talking about RSN override for a while. What exactly is RSN override? It's a mechanism that allows an access point to broadcast minimum RSN parameters in the RSNE, that is the robust security network element, to maximize the compatibility with legacy devices. So remember, I told you legacy devices don't understand too many AKM suits information. So what RSN override does is that it avoids presenting that complex or multiple AKM suits selector that older devices do not support. So this mechanism kind of provide a way to offer RSM parameters via what we call the RSNE overrides and RSNE override 2. So these elements help to prevent disruption in the ability of the legacy devices to connect. Let me step back to explain what I'm saying. RSN overrides present exactly the same information that PSK capable devices can understand to them. It doesn't show any information beyond what they can interpret. But then there are now added IE information inside it that only uh, RSNE capable RSNE override capable devices can interpret. So the problem for the WPA2 devices got resolved, and the security information that will improve the connectivity, the security of RSNE override capable device got introduced. In essence, What I'm saying is that the present WPA2 parameters in the standard RSNE remains the same, kind of continues, thus minimizing compatibility issues with legacy devices. It also used the RSNE to advertise more advanced information for Wi-Fi 7 devices. So they use that to connect and understand the RSNE override parameter. For Wi-Fi 7 devices that understand the details, right? They leverage the what called the override 2 elements to further narrow down the set of parameters that is being advertised so that you can use multi-link operations. So this is how the RSNE element format kind of implemented. It got tested earlier this month. Uh, the Wi-Fi 7, the WPA3 last release was October 30th, but then there was need for a plug fest, a need for a testing to be sure that this works. So as of this month, November 5, we got it all tested and working and got signed on as the showing to get WPA to get Wi-Fi 7 devices to work using WPA3 and making it backward compatible with legacy devices. So the way it functions is that the RSNE override element is now added to beacons and probe requests for all BSSs that supports RSN overrides. Bottom line is that legacy devices, older stations will ignore these elements, connecting based solely on the RSNE. So they just take that. But then latest devices, modern devices that support the new uh, RSNE information will now be able to interpret it and connect using the highest available security options. So the option of negotiating is taken out. No more negotiation. They can let the WPA2 only device connect, but then the newer devices will now scan, look at it. Oh, I can see this access point supports this, support this. But it goes for the highest denominator that is available and then connect to it. So that is RSN. RSN override 2, it's a little bit different. It's designed for Wi-Fi 7. So one single requirement for RSN override 2 is that RSN override must be supported first. So first of all, the access point and the device must first support RSN override before they can even go further to check the IE information and now understand that, oh, there is RSN override too. What happens is that in a Wi-Fi network with multi-link operations on access points, the RSN override 2 elements will now provide the strictest configuration for the AKMs and the cipher. So that will now ensure that the device is supporting the highest security settings and then use that to kind of have the most advanced parameter and connection, security connections. So this is how it looks like. This is the table of uh, override elements. It's you have your RSN overrides, and it's basically available. Sorry, the RSN information is basically available on all the network, especially WPA2 is basic. Is used for compatibility, like the transition modes, and it works only on 2.45 gig. Remember, does not is not available on 6 gig because PMF is optional in that. But when you have the RSN overrides, what happened is that it added the compatibility for WPA3, even though it will ignore the legacy devices 2.55 using WPA2. It will not make them able to connect with 2.4, 5, and 6. And then it introduces the SAE, makes PMF mandatory. The RSN override 2 makes it even further more secure and is what is going to be implemented for multi-link operation. Let's look at how it's going to look like for different use cases. So let's look at this table. Let's look at the behavior. So on the top here, I have the access points, and on this side here, I have the client devices, the stations. So we have the RSN override configuration not configured on this access point here, and the RSN override configuration enabled on this access point here. Okay, so a typical station that supports WPA2 only will connect. Okay, we discussed that earlier that some had issues connecting, some don't have issues. That well, most of it current status, most devices will connect to access to a Wi-Fi 7 access point, right? Will connect and still have issues. Some will not connect. If you have RSN override information enabled, they connect smoothly. Why? Because the information that they see is only WPA2 only. The other information about the override is hidden from them. But here, if you have in the transition mode, what happens is that they see a couple of AKM suits, they get confused. Some connect, some don't connect. That's what happens here. The advantage of RSN override is that all the legacy devices connect without issues. Okay, so let's look at, is that clear for WPA2 only devices? Okay, let's look at WPA3 devices. So WPA3 devices, I mean devices that support WPA3. Now there are two levels, and that's a question. Trying to answer your question you asked earlier, Mari here. So without RSN overrides, that is devices, most devices today don't understand RSN overrides. Okay, so this is what is going to happen. A WPA2, WPA3 transition mode, they're going to connect. There's no problem. They're going to connect and they're going to use WPA3 because they can see the AKM suits, the SAE for WPA3, so they connect using that. When they connect to an access point that supports RSN overrides, because that information of WPA of the um, SAE information and all the information that is required for the PMF, they are hidden in the RSN override. The WPA3 capable device without RSN override enabled in it will connect without any issue, but with WPA2 because it does not understand the RSN override information that is hidden, right? So because of that, the access point will assume that this device cannot interpret RSN override information, and thus they they will kind of connect using WPA2. For devices that understand RSN overrides, I mean the Wi-Fi 3 capable devices and understand RSN overrides. What happens is that for access points that does not support RSN override, it will still connect. because this time around it will connect using the transition mode, right? And then connect to the WPA3 using WPA3 AKM. Similarly, if RSN override is enabled, then that's even better because that way it will connect to the access points and be able to implement MLO without issues. Thanks so much for your time.